Men, hey, we're going to pick up with just a little clip
So why exactly is Mica's
here.
husband John Paul Miller being dragged into this? Well, according to an affidavit filed by Miller's ex-wife Allison Williams, Chris Skinner may have actually confronted the pastor 2 weeks prior to his death,
Okay, talking
demanding
about
that
John
Miller
Paul
stay
Miller.
away from his wife at the time, Susie. And by the way, if you need a refresher on all this, Pastor John Paul Miller was the controversial leader of South Carolina's Solid Rock Church, and he was married to Mica Miller, who passed away in April of last year in what authorities ruled to be a self-inflicted death. Mica had passed away on April 27th, which appeared to be days after she had served Miller with separation papers. But now, Miller was in a previous marriage before he met Mica, and this was to a woman named Allison Williams. And according to Allison Williams, the two were married for approximately 16 years prior to the divorce in 2016, and Miller went on to marry Mica in 2018. But their marriage was reportedly tumultuous and plagued with allegations of abuse against John Paul Miller, which we've talked about a lot on previous episodes of Sidebar. And while authorities, to be clear, have officially ruled on Mica's cause of death and have confirmed that he was not connected to her death and was nowhere near her when all of this happened, there are those who still believe that Miller played some kind of role in what ultimately led to Mica's passing. And there are those, some of them, who have expressed this publicly. But by the way, Miller's already in some.
Okay, so let's go ahead. Come on into my live. As you know, there's been a host of speculation. There's been a host of people's opinions on what's going on with Micah Francis. Since I've been covering this from the beginning, we're going to go ahead and go over notes that I have concerning this important matter. I just don't even know what to say, people. All right. So I was watching that clip, and it was, of course, was tying in the recent developments with the case being opened concerning Chris Skinner. I hope y'all are supporting the family on the Facebook page. And we know that they've come against, they've been really up against a lot of harshness and um, different things in the comments. I myself have pretty much stayed out of the comments, but I do offer my love and support for the family. And I pray all the time that the truth comes out, that it'll come out quickly, and that we will have justice for Mica, justice for Chris, and anyone else who has been hurt. Every Jane or John Doe, everybody who's been hurt by the diabolical ministry of Solid Rock Church. Okay, so just going over some of my notes. Guys, we're going to pick up with just a brief outline. I'm going to show it to you here. All right, so here we go. Here's my note. So Mica had met, of course, JR at the age of 14. JP officiated her marriage at 18 to his best friend. Mica officiated over ministries at church and babysitting. Allison was JP's wife at the time, his first wife, when Mica met her and had actually discovered them in a compromising position. They both ended up with divorces. And from here, just a quick cut. We're going to cut back to me going over this with you guys. So I have so much, actually, notebooks full of notes. So we're going to take this in a little bit different direction. So we know, of course, that April 27th was the tragic date where Mica's lifeless body was found in the Lumber River in Robertson County. This was found by 55-year-old Johnny Jacobs, who just recently was deceased in a tragic automobile accident. And my sympathies also go out to his family. I've stated before, I'm just going to let Johnny Jacobs rest in peace. And when, there's no point in bringing things up that are unsubstantiated. I think enough videos have been done. I've done 3 or 4 myself on different speculative ideas concerning it. So, it's, in my opinion, a tragic accident. And, if something else going to come out, I'm most confident that the different agencies will indeed find that information out and release it at some point. So, 2 days, of course, after serving John Paul his divorce papers, Mike was found. This started a lot of speculation. And one thing that we know, that I'm going to take it in the direction, because we know that Mica's a survivor, and she served JP divorce papers, because not only was he her husband, but he was also her pastor and her employer. So she was in a bad position, and because of her strong convictions and belief, she was, I'm sure, faced with a dilemma that many Christian women are. And it's being told that we need to be submissive to our husband, we need to reconcile, we need to do this. But the truth of the matter is, some situations cannot be reconciled. It takes 2 people to reconcile a situation. And it also takes, a lot, because once the vows are broken, they are broken, and the vows are not in place anymore. And it takes a supernatural type of commitment to then be recommitted. That's my opinion. But Mica was faced with a situation where she was reconciling her religious beliefs with leaving an unhealthy marriage. Okay, so Mica was the bride of JP, and she was one under his control. Um, he made sure of it, didn't he? He had when she did try to leave, after being really set up in a situation, I believe, where she was hospitalized against her will, JP was quick to retrieve her personal belongings and, of course, her vehicle, disallowing her mobility or any chance of being independent from him. So under JP's control, she was, part of the brainwashing, conditioning, whatever, the interpretation of the scriptures, the feeling like you need to be submissive, I'm sure was going through her mind. We saw texts from him where he was like, be a godly wife, put me first for once, the typical narcissistic type of control tactics. We see in JP's ministry, of course, the fruits of depravity and death. Mica realized, and we saw in her video, that she realized she was the bride of Christ first. I know friends were committed to encouraging her along those lines. There came a point in her life where she needed to make determinations of which way she was going to go. And to free herself from the abuse, she had to submit herself completely and totally to Jesus, and understand that God alone is to be worshiped. You cannot worship your husband no matter how much he demands, or your wife, your spouse, or anything else. You cannot have set up as an idol in place of Jesus. And when she realized that, I believe that she had the courage then to move forward, and she found Regina Ward, and she was able to get information to her that, one day we'll see the scope of these things. But we know from Mica's Law, the just the depravity of the depths that, I believe that JP drug her through, as a woman, as a worship leader, as a woman of God, as someone who was, I believe, a natural people pleaser. You know, she was faced with, do I be submissive to this man, his rules, his regulations, no matter how ungodly and what roads they take us down? Or do I just submit myself totally to Christ and break away? It's a hard decision. And I believe too many women are told that they need to reconcile. We heard that, John Paul instructed Pastor Randall to basically win her over and send her back whole and healed and ready to recommit to some kind of marriage with him and whatever, right up to the very end. JP's done nothing but lie about her interaction with him. On one of their last visits, I remember hearing, I think it was on News Nation, where he said, the last 3 hours that they had spent together, they, it made it sound all cozy. They even kissed, or whatever. And her sister came on in a later interview and said, I talked to her and no such thing happened. She was not interested at all in reestablishing their relationship. She wanted free from him, and she was almost there. And unfortunately, due to the narcissistic abuse, she didn't get that opportunity. She didn't get the opportunity to live her life, to eventually have children, to be in a loving relationship and serve the Lord with a man also who was serving the Lord. She was robbed of her dreams. She was robbed of her voice. That's why I'm here today, just to constantly bring it up, bring it to the attention. There's nothing we can do to help Mica out anymore. We can help other women, other men, other victims of abuse. We are the voice for the voiceless. So join me, people. And I thank you for joining me in the chat. I'm kind of running low on the battery. I'm going to be back on to talk about some more of Mica's dilemma. I do have a video on it as well. So I want you all to be safe first and foremost. Submit yourself, your ideas, your thoughts, your plans, your anxieties, everything unto Christ, because he loves you. And he makes a way where there seems to be no way. And like the group supporting Mica, her family made the song Waymaker, the anthem basically of this movement. Justice for Mica. So I love you guys. Thank you all for joining me. I see you, Zay, Aliza, Fast Boy Cars, and Molly. Thank you so much, Molly. I appreciate you. I put my earrings on for you today. I will talk to you all later. Be free, be safe. Submit your lives to Jesus, and he will not lead you wrong. He has a purpose and a plan for you, and you're important to the kingdom of God. Don't let anybody tell you anything different. Love you guys.